Well, welcome to the first Green Party PEI leadership debate. I know there was one online, and this is the first live here in Summerside. So it's good to have you here, the first in-person event. And it's really good to be in Summerside as we kick off this time together. Of course, our goal in being here today is to provide you with information. And not second-hand information, first-hand information from the folk here. So, and also to provide you with good information so that you can make a decision, important decision about the party and its leadership. My name is Greg Davis, and I'll try to be your moderator for this afternoon. So I'll give her my best shot. But before we get too far into the weeds of things, there's always biological things happening within our bodies. We sometimes want to go pee and do those sorts of things. So the bathrooms are, you just go out through that door, down, and just a little bit to your right, and then right there's first the males and then the females. So if you need to use the washroom, please do so. When you came in, I hope you saw the table, which is accepting donations and membership sign up. So please remember that only members are registered to vote on May 8th. And so it's important to go and get your name if you want to vote. So I want to welcome our candidates this afternoon, and I've a biography for both, of which I'd like to share with you at this time. First, we'll begin with Hannah Bell. Hannah Bell holds an MBA in Innovative Management from UPEI, a diploma in Computer Science, and certificates in Project Management and Climate Leadership. She has held senior positions at Veterans Affairs Canada and Timeless Technologies in Charlottetown, and has been a leader in her community as an executive director of the PEI Business Women's Association and community lead for Startup Canada PEI. Hannah serves on a number of boards, including the PEI Coalition for Women in Leadership and the Rape and Sexual Assault Centre. She is a member of the Y Service Club of Prince Edward Island, the Rotary Club of Charlottetown, and is chair of the PEI Rotary Literacy Foundation. Hannah was elected to the Legislative Assembly of PEI in November 2017, joining Peter Bevan Baker as the second Green MLA in PEI. She was elected in 2019 as part of the first ever Green Opposition Caucus, holding a number of key roles, including critic for social development and housing, finance, and climate action, chair of the Public Accounts Committee, and member of the Special Committee on Poverty in PEI. Hannah successfully passed 6 pieces of legislation during her service as MLA, most notably the Renoviction Moratorium and the Poverty Elimination Strategy Act. Hannah currently works as an independent management consultant providing services to nonprofits, small businesses, and educational institutions in Prince Edward Island. She lives in Parkdale with her daughter, Ava Grace, and her mother, Judith, 3 dogs and 2 cats. When she's not working or volunteering, Hannah can be found in her garden, at the beach, or walking her wonderful dogs. So welcome. MacFarlane is the current MLA for District 19, Borden-Kincora, having won the seat for the GP PEI in February 2024 by-election. A lifelong resident of South Shore area, Matt brings extensive experience and an unwavering commitment to advocating for his community. His roles as co-chair for the South Shore Health and Wellness Centre and president of the Atlantic branch of the Kidney Foundation of Canada highlights his efforts in champion causes important to his community. His efforts secured improved access to healthcare in the district and helped establish a much-needed provincial renal clinic at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Matt received his Bachelor of Arts degree, Political Science, from UPEI in '97, and his Bachelor of Laws degree from the University of Ottawa in 2000. Matt then worked as an advisor in the Senate of Canada and the Department of Foreign Affairs before returning to Prince Edward Island, where he has maintained a general law practice for 20 years with clients throughout this wonderful island. Matt is committed to giving back to the community, regularly donating his time to various community organizations in the areas of health, the environment, the business sectors. He has served on the executive of provincial, regional, and national nonprofit boards of directors. Matt was born and raised in Disable and currently lives in Augustine Cove with his wife, Joanna. So please welcome Matt. Now, just a few words about the flow of our afternoon, and so just a few thoughts around that. We have a couple of opening questions that we'll begin with, and then we'll jump into 5 themes that have been identified. And the 5 themes are leadership, vision, and party identity, character and accountability, organizational strategy and electoral growth, environment, energy, and land, health, housing, and equality. Now, the questions that we have are based on feedback we received from members, and we have tried to focus on the areas that are most pertinent to our membership. Some of these are direct from the membership, and some are written to cover ground that many people felt concern about. Now, if you didn't get your question here, there are a few options that are open to you. First, reach out directly to the candidate and ask questions to them, and they will be more than welcome to find time to chat with you and to talk about your questions. The second thing that you can do is attend the next debate in Charlottetown. So we have another debate, so please come on to that debate as well. That said, we do want to thank you for being such an engaging community, for providing questions, and for being here today to be part of this event. Now, because you've been so good in coming out, there's an added bonus here today for showing up. You have an option to submit a written question to the back of the room. So our team will select a couple of those questions to ask the candidates in the last section of our debate. So if you have a question, please note that. Now, we're grateful you've come out today, and we look forward to a respectful and a thoughtful exchange of ideas and understandings. And to support that and to support each candidate, candidates have equal amount of time for speaking. So we have equal amount of times, and please stay within those times. There's going to be a red card or cards going up telling you when to stop, so please, I don't want to interject and do that sort of stuff. And we ask that candidates not interrupt each other. And I know sometimes conversations get a little heated, and so no interruptions, please. And let's all remember that the goal of this debate, or these conversations, I'd rather call them, is to inform you, the audience, through a civil and substantive exchange of ideas so that you get to know our candidates better and in a good way. So we begin this formal debate today. We believe that it's important to acknowledge the land upon which we find ourselves today. That we are in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We recognize that we are all treaty people and we have responsibilities to each other and to this island. We are grateful to work and engage in the community work in Mi'kma'ki, to recognize without action, an acknowledgement is simply empty. It marks the beginning of the work ahead of us, not the end. So with that in mind, I would invite our two candidates to come forward at this time and answer this. We begin, and it's going to be 90 minutes. And Matt, I'll move out of here so you can move in, and I'll...
Testing. There we go. That one's on too.
Okay. So for 90 minutes, 90 seconds. Yeah, not 90 minutes. Oh my gosh.
It's a really long.
Yeah. We're fine to start off. So
We could be here for some time.
we could be here. What reconciliation means to you, and how you will bring this into your daily life. That's the question. Now, I guess we should do a time-honored PEI thing here.
Oh, you're going to flip a coin.
Corn flip.
That's how we choose on PEI. So, anybody?
You choose.
Sure, heads.
Heads. So I think, Matt, that's your.
Oh, I can go first?
You can go first.
Okay, well, thank you, and thank you all for being here. This is a wonderful event. I appreciate the acknowledgement that we always start our party's events off with, and I appreciate the reference to the without action, an acknowledgement is empty. It's important because acknowledgement is first. Acknowledgement is the fundamental thing we need to do, but we need to move past that, and we need to move to action. So without action, acknowledgement is empty, and we need to acknowledge the 94 calls to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Report. That's fundamental for us each to know what those are, the importance of those to the Indigenous people. And it's also important that we recognize that the answers aren't within us. I don't have the answers. We have to trust what the Indigenous people have asked for by way of moving forward. In my role as an elected official, I have a privileged position of power. I can learn, I can consult, I can listen, and I can take the information I hear and bring to governments at all levels so that we incorporate these actions, these calls to action moving forward. And my work as an MLA is to advocate to government to make the necessary policy changes that we need to move forward with the sentiment that without action, an acknowledgement is empty. Reconciliation takes all of us, and all of us being willing to learn, and all of us being willing to put that learning into action. Thank you.
Annabelle.
Thank you. As settlers, we have a responsibility to learn the truth, the stories and experiences of First Nations peoples from before the settlers came and what happened after. Only once we learn the truth can we really, truly start reconciliation. This is why the stories of survivors of residential schools and the 60s scoop are so important to learn and to understand, even though they're hard for us. That's part of the reason that it's important that we do that learning, because it is hard. It was hard. I've done a lot of reading and self-reflection and taken part in community education and workshops that are provided by Mi'kma'ki elders and community leaders, and there's always more to learn. The blanket exercise is probably one of the most powerful, and I know there's colleagues and friends in the room who've been able to take part in that, and what a meaningful and inspirational and deep process it is. But there are other things that we can think about that we need to do after we start learning the truth and get educated. We need to, as Matt said, we need to think about action and change. It's time we take more tangible action. The time for just doing acknowledgements is over. And so how you act as individuals is going to look different, but for me, that includes acknowledging murdered and missing Indigenous women and honouring them, learning about residential schools and the generational harms that often present as mental health and addictions issues, and understanding that the services that are provided by government for Indigenous peoples do not often recognise their unique needs and are not developed in consultation with the very people that we should be serving. That's the place where we can start. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your wonderful responses to that. And we'll move now to the opening statements. These opening statements are introductions. So you have 3 minutes each to share with us your vision for the Green Party of Prince Edward Island. And Hannah, you begin.
Okay, thank you. A lot of the questions that I get when I'm asked about why I'm running is, why did you get into politics and then why did you leave? I got into politics because of my daughter Ava, because of Peter and the inspiration that he provided to those of us that were looking for change. And for Ava, who is now 17, but at the time when I ran first was 9, it was about wanting to create and leave a better world for her. And those are still the motivations that bring me here in front of you today. I'm one of those people that looks around the room and says, somebody should be doing something about that, and then realizing that either I'm the person or I can empower somebody else to be that person to make change. Being a woman, being a single parent, having lived experience that at the time was unique to the legislature was a privilege. And I think one of the ways that I can share that with you is to share some of the stories of what it's like to be an elected official in PEI and why it matters. I'm going to tell you about Pat and Eric and Doug. Pat I met when I was campaigning for the first time. She was locked in her apartment, unable to leave because she had an ostomy and couldn't afford the supplies she needed to be able to get out of her house in dignity. I promised her I was going to do something to help her. And after I was elected, I did. I was able to arrange a meeting for the ostomy support group to meet with the minister. I was able to bring attention to the issue through media, through a motion being filed on the floor of the House. And a year later, there's a fully funded ostomy program up and running, and today there are 800 islanders who receive ostomy support for the equipment that they need because of Pat. Because Pat told me her story and I cried in the hallway and promised her I would help her. That's the kind of power you can have, but also the privilege you have of serving and understanding how important it is to respect what people need. Eric was an older gentleman in a wheelchair with 2 cats who lived down the road from my house, and he was being rent evicted. The house was being sold to be converted into an Airbnb, and he had 3 weeks to find somewhere. And social services told him that they might be able to find him somewhere, but he'd have to give up his cats. And Eric said, I'd rather die than give up their cats. They're my kids. And so he came to me and said, what do I do? And that's when I found out how terrible our housing system is. It was the beginning of the eye-opening experience of dealing with social services, with housing, with seniors support. And yes, we got Eric a home, but that work began years of work in housing and what I've become known for taking advocacy on. And finally, it's about Doug. And Doug is what grassroots organizing looks like. And that's my core vision for this party, because Doug found out that 37 of his neighbors were going to be evicted. And he organized and got their contact details and got all the information and showed up at my door at 8:30 on a Saturday morning and said, we need to do something. And what we did was the rent eviction moratorium. It is possible for ordinary people to make a difference. You don't have to be a politician. But if you're in politics, you have to understand that you're here to serve ordinary people. And those problems and those issues are never small. They have huge impact and they matter. And as a party, we must always remember that we are here to serve. We are here to make a change. We are here to make a difference. And we are here to respond to what people ask us to do. That is the privilege of serving, and that's why I am so looking forward to getting back and doing that work again. Thank you.
Matt, please.
Oh, thank you. And again, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for coming out. I'm pleased to stand before you as a candidate for leadership of your Green Party of Prince Edward Island. My time with the party spans a decade or so. I've served in many roles with the party during that time, and I was very fortunate on my third election attempt to win the seat in last February 2024 to represent the residents of District 19 Borden Kincora, and I've been proudly serving them in that role ever since. Prior to being elected to that seat, I served in the practice of law for 20 years in Summerside and Charlottetown. And I had the opportunity during my time as a lawyer, which I still do maybe about 3% of my time. That's hopefully soon going to be reduced to zero. But I was able to build a lot of connections across Prince Edward Island with people, community leaders, community inspirers throughout Prince Edward Island. That was the best part of the job. That was the part of the job that I really enjoyed the most, was getting out in the community and meeting with people from all sectors and all walks of life. It really gave me a chance to give back to the community in different ways. And one of those ways was by commitment to serving on different boards and organizations over the years. That's been a fundamental part of my life. And my personal connection with kidney disease brought me to serve in a role I still volunteer with the Kidney Foundation of Canada. In 2001, I received a kidney from my sister Rosie, and 24 years later, it's still going strong, and I'm knocking on some wood here. My time with the Kidney Foundation of Canada brought me from going door to door, raising money, all the way to the National Board of Directors, serving as president of the Atlantic Canada chapter. It was, I don't know, I'll keep speaking as loud as I can. Okay. After being elected last year, I immediately started to hear from Islanders, tip to tip, about their challenges, about the real lack of leadership in this province. Leadership that actually listens and hears what Islanders are saying and advocates for change. I believe firmly that what the Green Party of PEI needs at this moment is a leader who can bring people together from all walks of life and from all areas of this province, who can work together towards a common goal to improve the lives of Islanders. Hannah mentioned some ways that Islanders' lives need to be improved. In my previous leadership roles, I've always found that bringing good folks together with a shared vision, shared common goal, helps get stuff done. As chair of South Shore Health and Wellness in Crapo, we started with an empty space. We were told we couldn't do anything with that space, and within 5 years, we got that clinic up and running to a fully serviced patient medical home that takes thousands of people off the patient registry and gives them doctors' needs. The bottom line is we were told it couldn't be done, even by government, but together we got it done. That's where we are at with the Green Party at this time. We were told we couldn't elect an MLA. We got Peter elected. For years, I was told I couldn't win in a rural district held by a Conservative. I got elected. I know what we can do when we accomplish what we can do and what we can accomplish when many say can't be done. I'm putting my name forward to do what some people still say can't be done, and that is lead this party to be the next government of Prince Edward Island. Thank you.
Thank you to you both. It's quite a thing to put yourself forward to do this, and certainly appreciate your vision for the party. And as you speak, I was thinking, you know what, we're in good hands, however this vote goes. So it's good to have two good, strong candidates with us today. So at this point, we're going to move into the thematic section of our time together. And how we're going to proceed is this. Each person will speak for 2 minutes for the initial response, and each person will speak, and then the first person that spoke will then have a rebuttal. Okay? And so that's how we'll do that. You will be timed, and again, I'd remind you that please stay within your time limit. And that makes my life a lot easier. Okay, the first segment that we have is leadership, vision, and party identity. And Hannibal, you will be the first person going with on this one. So in 2 minutes or less, what is your vision for a Green Party, and how would you get Islanders to vote for that vision?
Okay, thank you. We have incredible potential in the Green Party. We've come close. tantalizingly close. 2019 was a razor's edge of whether the Greens were going to be government or not. And we know until 11 o'clock on that night, we didn't know. But despite not being government that time, it was undeniable the impact that the Green Party had on politics in PEI, where we have been in red or blue forever. And now there is that viable choice, not the third party choice, but a viable choice on equal footing with the other traditional institutional parties. The risk that we have and the opportunity that we have is to lose, we don't want to lose that momentum. And so part of that is building the membership, not just as members are numbers, but members are the story and the foundation of the Green Party. Without active membership, tip to tip in the province that is empowered to be able to take direction, to build EDAs, to have that involvement and that empowerment in selecting candidates, in setting policy, the party will continue to struggle in finding what that big tent actually looks like. If you want a big tent, you have to make a big tent. And that means actively getting out and saying, where are the people that aren't in this room right now? Why aren't they here? And how do we bring them in? That means doing things that maybe we've never done before, or talking to groups that we've never engaged with before. It also means that you, us as a party, you as individuals, are going to have challenging conversations. And that's okay. We cannot grow and we cannot change if we're not prepared to have conversations that challenge us, never challenging our values, but challenging some of the things that we take to be self-evident. Because this province is changing. It's changed in 5 years. It's changed in 10 years. It's going to keep changing. We have to be able to pivot and move with it as it does to be the party that can form the next government of PEI. Thank you.
And Matt, 2 minutes.
Oh, thank you. A leader of a political party has to do two things, in my opinion. One is to grow and strengthen the party internally and create that unity and build that excitement that comes with being part of an effective, active, viable political organization. Number two, for the next election, the leader has to show Islanders tip to tip that the Green Party is a trusted, effective, and ready political party in which to place the vote, where Islanders can have the trust to place their vote. How do we do that? I believe we do that by making the connections with people across the province that are needed to bring the party strength and growth, to get more people involved. And a good leader can attract good candidates. And good candidates build strong local teams around them. I've been humbled in the last little bit since I got elected that a lot of people have reached out to me from across the province who have indicated an intention to run. So as Hannah has said, there is excitement with the Green Party right now. And there's people, good, strong people across the province that not only want to come forward and put their name forward for candidacy, but they want to support local candidates. They want to be grassroots level party organizers, party builders. I think what it comes down to is that as Islanders, we have far more in common than we do different from each other. And it's about having those conversations with Islanders who we have our shared goals and our shared values and how we can achieve those goals together. It all comes down to recognizing that no matter what previous political party someone may have been involved with, there's movement, there's change. I wasn't always a Green Party member, but here I am and I wouldn't be anywhere else. We want the same things as Islanders. We want access to a family doctor. We want good education for our children. We want a house that we can afford, our children can afford, and we want to have protections against climate change for our future generations. Those are the Green values, and those are the way we're going to continue to grow our party and get good candidates and good members. Thank you.
Anna, yes. 1 minute, please.
Thank you. We are going to speak later about sort of organizational strategy and electoral growth, so I'll save some of my details about the very sexy topics of EDAs and fundraising then. But I think that one of the things that the party needs to recognize is that doing politics differently doesn't mean we can afford to be disconnected of how politics works, right? That there is that core thing that we always have to do. We have to raise money. We have to identify candidates. We have to build a base of volunteers and membership and all of those things. Those things are just how good organizing works, whether you're organizing a rally or you're organizing a party, a political party, not a birthday party. And a leader that helps that activity happen is one who empowers people to do so, right? So leadership that says, I value the people on my team, I trust the people on my team, and I allow them to speak the truth, regardless of whether that is one that I'm comfortable with, for example. We have to be able to build a big tent, and that means, again, what does big tent mean? It means that everybody has a role in a space. So providing ways for people to connect to the values of the party, but providing ways to have them see their value in the party means that we have a valuable party. And that's how we build a future that's green. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the second question, we'll begin with Matt regarding this question. Is my mic on? There we go. I want to be heard. So Matt, you'll begin this with the response to this question. In your view, what makes the PEI Green Party unique from the Liberals, PCs, and NDPs?
Thank you. Great question. What makes the Green Party unique? Let me count the ways. Well, I mean, I guess one easy way of saying what makes us unique is that we don't whip votes. We are independent as representatives of our districts. We can vote our conscience and we can vote our constituents. And I've already had opportunity to do that in the legislature with respect to a bill that was brought forward in my first sitting. And it was very empowering to me to be able to stand up and have the support of Peter and Carla and say, Matt, you vote however way you want with respect to this. You poll your constituents and you vote however you think is best. So that's very empowering. People recognize that makes the Green Party unique, is that we are free, independent voices for our constituents. I think what also makes the Green Party unique, and I've learned this from my decade or so of being involved with the party and attending Jordan Bobber's seminars and how Greens do things differently. We listen. When we go to the door, we listen to people first and foremost. I've had other candidates go to the door before me in elections and say, well, I'm glad you're here and you allowed me a chance to talk, because the previous candidate from X party simply talked for 5 minutes about all that he had done for the last 4 years. That's not what people don't want to be talked at. People want to be listened to. And that's one of the fundamental ways that I've learned that the Green Party is different. Other ways, too, is when we listen, we hear, we listen, and we take the concerns of the constituents, the people we're talking to, back to our party. We don't just write them on a piece of paper and put the paper in the shredder. We take the concerns back and we actually turn those concerns into real policy, real legislation that can make a difference in Islanders' lives. So it's not just listening for the sake of going to a door and how quick you can get to the next door. Green Party candidates listen, Green Party candidates care, and Green Party candidates bring to the legislature the issues that we hear and that make a difference in Islanders' lives.
Over to you, Hannah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd echo, Matt's experience of being able to vote as per your conscience. And I know the very first time I did it, it was terrifying for everybody because we were voting against the budget. And no, there was no risk that the government was going to come down, but it was still a really scary thing. And I know Carla's sitting there going, oh yeah. But one of the key things that when you're an MLA is you're accountable to those who elected you. That's your accountability, right? Sorry, this chat. You're accountable to those who elected you. And so it's your responsibility to bring forward the issues that are raised in, whether it's in your district or not. And I think, I know Lynn and Trish would agree with this. We used to get calls from everybody whose own MLA wasn't supporting them. And that's still the case today. I know Matt's got the same thing, right? And you don't say, oh no, you're not in my district, I'm not going to help you. That's not how it works when you're Green, because you're there to do the work for the people. And that's a very different experience than somebody who's got an MLA from one of the other parties. In fact, the Green members become known for the people that you go to when everybody else let you down, because they won't. what that looks like from a leadership perspective is that leaders are accountable not just in their elected position, but they're accountable to the members of the party who elect them. Right? So it's the same relationship, but it's one that speaks to what do the members want? What do the members need you to have? And we're not directed by, we're completely separate from the federal Greens. We're not directed by any other body. We are able to set our own destiny, our own priorities, our own policy based on the priorities that come from membership and from the public whom we serve. I know a lot about passing legislation. Even though we were in official opposition, I passed legislation that mattered. I secured funding that mattered. $10 million for social assistance rates, the first and largest increase in the province in history, by negotiating directly with Denny King as Premier. Okay, that's the other thing that Greens can do. We can break the rules because those rules don't actually work. That's politics done differently. That you can be in official opposition, you can show up, and you can do the work that other people thought you couldn't, just because you think, maybe I'll try it this way and see what happens. And you know what? It works. Thank you. No problem.
And Matt, if you can offer a response, please.
Sure, it's not an issue that really lends itself to rebuttal.
No, really.
It's, you know, we're here because we're Greens. We have the shared sense of values, and we have that shared sense of community. And I think we know why we're here. It might be hard to put into words and define, but, you know, we're here because we perhaps found that the other parties were lacking, and we found something here with the Green Party that perhaps was not available elsewhere. And there is an inclusivity. The Greens are inclusive by nature. It's one of our core values, it's inclusivity. And Hannah's correct. We're island-wide. I don't represent just my constituents. I have emails regularly from people from one end of the island to the other who say, you know, you're the only one who responded to my last email, so I'm going to keep trying you again if you don't mind, because nobody else, my own MLA is AWOL, can't find her, and I'm going to turn to you for help. So we don't turn anybody away. We're island-wide and we're inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And our next question is this: how would you define the essential roles and responsibilities of the leader of the PEI Green Party? Hannah.
That's not the question I was expecting, but I can totally go with it. Thank you. The primary role of the leader of the party is to provide guidance and inspiration, but not direction. Or perhaps direction in terms of ensuring that we're all on the same path. But one of the things about a good leader is listening to the other voices in the room. And you've heard Matt talk about this, the importance of Greens at the door, listening, the importance of taking what you hear and turning that into policy. And ideally, I know I read a lot of, an organizer, actually, Anna Keenan, got me onto Marshall Gans. And one of Marshall Gans's primary things he says about leaders is when there's a good leader, you don't know they're in the room, right? Things get done, and they get done well because the leader has supported the team to be the best they can be, and things work because they have organized amongst themselves to their strengths. And the leader is there, perhaps in case something needs to get put back on the rails, but generally not to direct, because people are empowered. And empowerment is something that we can toss around a lot, but maybe not think about what it actually means. When you empower people, you're giving up your authority and giving it to somebody else. You're delegating that authority and saying, I trust you enough that, you know, I'm going to give you this thing to do, and I trust that you, and maybe that trust comes because there's been training and education and workshops. So that's one of the pieces that the leader has to have in their toolbox, is what are the tools and methods and skills that you're going to need to develop and implement to build the team, to bring the team to where it needs to be, so that it can then go out and become larger and larger in the community. There's some really technical things that need to be done in there as well. Again, not so sexy, but really critical, around raising money and being the face and spokesperson on behalf of the party, fundraising, helping with candidate raising, all those kind of exciting things. But the core of it is you are there to represent the people, to be the voice of the priorities and the values of the party, and to build and support a team that can bring that forward on behalf of Islanders and the province, and for the better. Time runs out really fast. I'm just going to say that's like the fastest 2 minutes ever. I keep running out before I get to the end.
And Matt, 2 minutes?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Okay. Would you define how would you define the essential roles and responsibilities of the leader of the PEI Green Party?
All right. No, thank you for doing that, Craig. Previous answer I gave touched on that. I realize now, and when I said that a leader has to do two things, is at this moment bring the party together with unity, grow the party, grow the resources the party needs. Those are some of the practical aspects that Hannah has alluded to, some of those nuts and bolts of the party that every party needs. And the leader has to lead by example to do that. And then the next thing that the leader has to do is show to the broader public, not even perhaps Green people generally, that the Green Party is in a position and ready to lead and ready to form the next government of Prince Edward Island. And I used the words already, I think, that leader has to lead by example and create the respect necessary in the room for the team to pull along and to follow. I recently read someplace, I can't remember where at all, but the last thing the leader needs to do is try to be liked and try to create friends. The best thing the leader needs to do is to earn the respect of the people, of the party, of the group, of the board, whatever it might be, the membership, by leading with integrity, by leading with confidence, and by setting the example necessary that the rest of the team is quite willing to follow. In many ways, the leader of a party or leader of anything it's like the chair of a board. As Hannah said, the leader doesn't need to be out waving the big flag all the time. A lot of time leading can be more subtle and nuanced and doesn't require someone standing up at a podium, banging the table and banging the chest to earn the respect that's needed to lead. So my plan would be to do as I've said, lead by example, create the trust and earn the respect of the people for whom comprises this party. Thank you.
They cut off your mic.
We're putting mics now.
You're doing very well on the timing. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're doing okay.
Anna, would you like to respond, please?
Just a couple of quick things to circle back to, if I can. One of them is I've spoken a little bit about it earlier about electoral district associations. And in true grassroots democracy, EDAs are the key to grassroots engagement and support for the party. It's a top-down and bottom-up. And right now we have a real challenge with our EDAs, and partly because we have a challenge with our membership. So the more members we have, the more likely we can build EDAs. The more EDAs we can build, the stronger the party becomes. But one of the things that I think perhaps that I have a little bit of a different approach on is that EDAs are the ones that do the candidate identification because they know their community and they know who their community champions are. Yes, the head office or the central room may need to step in if they can't find one or where we have areas without EDAs. But ideally, a strong electoral district association in a community knows who their community champion is and who is the person best positioned to be the best Green Party candidate. And that is that reflection of what grassroots democracy actually looks like. And we would do well to think about how we get back to that space. So thanks for the opportunity to clarify on that one.
Thank you. So the plot thickens.
Lovely.
We're at segment 2 of our time together, which is character and accountability.
Oh, you're jumping all over the place.
So Matt, you are up for 2 minutes on the first question. Party building is hard work, as you know, and it requires a commitment to keep going and stay positive even through the challenges and the setbacks. How have you demonstrated that kind of commitment through your history with the party thus far? 2 minutes.
Thank you. Great question, as they all are. So my position at this time, as I've indicated, is that the Green Party deserves a leader that is hardworking, dependable, able to bring people together from many diverse backgrounds, and prepared to step up and do the hard work. I could go on, but I think those are the fundamental aspects of what the party needs right now to move the party forward to form the next government. The members of this party deserve someone that when the going gets tough, that leader is prepared to double down and commit to the success of the party, dig in, roll up the sleeves, and get the work done. By way of an example, after the 2023 election, which was disappointing for a lot of us and how the seats tallied up at the end of the vote, I met with Peter within 2 weeks of the election. I remember Peter sitting on your deck in Bonshaw, and my question to you at the time was, or my statement to you at the time was, I'm going to be the next president of the Green Party of Prince Edward Island so that I can make sure the party is ready and in position for the next general election. Now, unfortunately, I won a by-election before I was able to really, really finish my job as president, but we've had a great interim president with Kathy since then. But that was my reaction. My response was to not run and retreat from the party and what was perceived as a failure at the time for the results, but was to get right out there and assume the position, or at least put my name forward for the highest position of the party. I've been involved with the party at so many levels as official agent, president, deputy leader, shadow critic. I've jumped into the party at every opportunity that I could. I've ran in 3 elections in the span of 5 years and left my job to do that because I believe in what this party brings to the people of Prince Edward Island, and I would be prepared to continue to do that. Thank you.
Two minutes, Anna.
Thank you. Well, I mean, you heard my bio at the beginning, which kind of goes through that demonstrated leadership in community, business, and as an elected official. I think one of the key things is that I'm active and involved in my community, whether I'm in elected office or not, with a lifetime of volunteering, activism, and community leadership. I'm a bold advocate for the things that I care about and that my community cares about. And I believe in doing, not just talking. And that includes making really tough decisions. So, for example, in the last electoral cycle, when I had served my entire term, after having been elected in 2019, I decided not to reoffer. And I've often said that I think we hold politicians to different standards about explaining why they don't serve or why they choose to step down. We saw that with Denny King. And the response for me has been quite challenging because I think when a politician or somebody in any kind of public service makes a decision to take care of their family, for example, they shouldn't have to explain that that is sometimes necessary. And it doesn't mean that they don't work hard, and it doesn't mean that they don't care. It just means that they have capacity to do a certain amount of work, and family is priority. I am very grateful that my family is in a much better space now than it was in 2023. And I am grateful that I'm able to stand on my record of the work that I accomplished as an elected official. I successfully passed 6 pieces of legislation, including the Rent Eviction Moratorium, the Poverty Elimination Act that sets targets for the elimination of homelessness and food insecurity in PEI. I amended the Employment Standards Act to make sure that we talk about poverty when we set the minimum wage, which is why it's going up to $17 an hour. I provided regulations for Airbnbs. I raised money to fund the first women's shelter in PEI, for the ostomy program, $10 million for social assistance clients, and funding for NGOs across the province, where my heart sits with social justice, because that's the kind of work that you can do when you know that you can show up and make a difference, work hard, and cross boundaries that frankly don't matter if you really want to see that work get done. It's a privilege to have served. It will be a privilege to serve again. And I look forward to showing up with my best foot forward, as I always do. Thank you.
And Matt, 1 minute response.
Sure, thank you, Greg. I guess my only response would be that for 10 years running without fail, without interruption, and without missing a beat, I've been part of this party in so many roles. That includes the last couple of years where I've served as president, official agent, before that deputy leader, and now as MLA for the party. My commitment to the party is unfailing, and it will always be that way. It does require standing through the tough times and being prepared to come forward in the tough times, especially because that's what you want, I believe, in leadership and in a candidate for leader, is somebody who is going to look at the challenges that need to be met and addressed and run head on into those challenges, regardless of anything else that's going on. And I recognize life challenges and life issues come first too, and that's unfortunately that's true for all of us. But we need at this time a leader who's committed to staying with the party, committed to moving it forward and rolling up the sleeves, doing the hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is, what personal qualities and experiences do you possess to build a winning team for the next election? Hannah.
Thank you. I am lucky in terms of having had such a broad employment experience over my 40 years in various fields of work, that I have an incredibly extensive network, not just in PEI, but across Canada and into internationally. So when I need to tap for a resource, I have an incredible breadth of network to draw on. I also have an incredible network in PEI because of the number of different organizations that I've had the privilege of working with. When you specialize in working with nonprofits, small businesses, and educational institutions like I do, you meet a lot of people. So whether it's working with Hospice PEI, which has taken me from tip to tip across the province, with things like bike-friendly communities, which was an incredible experience last summer doing active transportation, and a number of other organizations that technically I can't name because I have privacy agreements, but a large chunk, one of my primary clients right now is UPEI, and that includes work on the new climate program, which means I have a wealth of access to those experts, and who are more than willing to say, yes, I'll give you the information that we have. Yes, I'll talk to you about what we should be doing when we think about policy for shoreline protection or coastal erosion. Having that kind of library of incredible people and resources that you can tap is something that brings huge value to the party, because I act then as a conduit for who do we need to get and how can we get to them. I think one of the other pieces around this is that I have also an incredible background and experience in actually organizing and building teams. So, for example, as the executive director of the Business Women's Association, when I took over that organization, it was 6 months from failing. We turned it into a thriving organization. When I handed it over, it had tripled its membership, was generating revenue, had new partners, new fields of income, and had secured for the first time significant funding for multi-year programs. Those are all wins for a nonprofit. They're wins for the community that organization served. And they were done through the application of organizational skills, membership development, which are incredibly transferable to the party and to what we're talking about here today. How do we bring that viability into this space? How do we connect with people that we haven't previously connected? Well, you want somebody who's actually done that before on a large scale, both provincially and nationally, like I have. I think that's my time. A little bit over.
Over to you, Matt. 2 minutes, please.
Thank you for that. So, you know, it's true. The first big quality that comes to my mind, well, there's many. You have to have the ability to reach people, and to have a network of people to draw from is so critically important. And as I mentioned in my law practice, and I've also served on, I was trying to count as Hannah was speaking, but a number of different boards and community organizations. And through all those experiences, by being here on the island, you develop a real network, a solid network of people to turn to. And when, as an MLA now also, that network gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Constituents, as we say, across the island regularly reach out with their concerns, and they know people, and they know people, and of course there's only two or three degrees of separation in Prince Edward Island. Everybody knows everybody. So it's critically important to have that big network of people that you can turn to. And the other element of that, the other aspect of that, is by showing to your network of people that you have credibility, that you have the integrity to lead, and that you have shown a commitment to hard work. That brings those people in that network together to want to support not only the leader, but the party, the organization that leader is in turn at that time leading. Other examples before my time runs out of what I believe would make for good qualities in a leader. I have the ability to walk into a room and talk to anybody in that room. That could be someone wearing a MAGA hat, heaven forbid, and we've seen them at the doors when we go knocking.
Yeah.
So it could be a fault to some extent, but I have the ability to talk to and speak to and engage with people from all walks of life, non-traditional Greens, and that will allow the opportunity to share the Green story, build the big tent, get the party the growth and the excitement and the energy it needs. We don't want everybody in that tent, don't get me wrong, but we want as many people as we can that we can bring to share our common values. And the final point I'd make is I'm a good listener and I'm incredibly patient. So sometimes people have long and thoughtful stories, and it's important to listen to them so that they feel engaged with and heard. Thank you.
Over to you, Hannah. 1 minute, please.
Just a couple of brief points to add. I mean, I think when we talk about the Big Ten, we need to actually talk what we're talking about. If you look around this room, our average age, our average ethnicity, and our backgrounds say that we're not a big tent. And so you need to have a leader and a team that is not only willing but able to make connections with the communities that aren't in the room. And I'm going to tell you now, not every youth, which can everything from 14 to 30, depending on who you talk to, might not come to something like this. That means we have to do something that they would come to. And I'm really privileged to have been able to work with both the Rotary Youth Parliament and the Coalition for Women in Leadership, Women and Gender Diverse Youth Parliaments for a number of years now. And they want to be at things like this. And in fact, some of them are. URSA, in terms of our immigrant refugee permanent residents, who are eligible to be members of the party. And that's the way you connect with new people. So we need to talk about what those communities actually look like and then think about how we get there. Thank you. Gosh, that's such a short amount of time. I know.
Okay, the last question in this particular segment is this one, and Matt, you'll be responding first, please. 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
And you've both been very, very good at holding to those times, so thank you for that.
I get dirty looks every now and then.
We're doing okay. We're doing okay.
Okay, here's the question. What would you say is the biggest mistake or miscalculation you've made during your political career so far, and what have you learned from it? Ooh, you bet.
Only 2 minutes?
As we said at the beginning, people could call you and ask for more elaboration on that.
Well, okay. There's probably others, but this is one that's sort of topical because it's only in the last week that it's come to my mind. It's so important. This is something I've already known, but it's so important that we make sure that we engage with everybody. When we go to make a decision, we go to make a step in a certain direction as a politician, it's so important that we engage all of those who need to be engaged on that particular point. And I've dropped the ball a couple of times now with respect to a municipality in my district that I owed a better duty of care to. That's a legal term. It just means I should have reached out to that community, to that town, once and also twice now when I've decided to hold a public meeting within that town. And it was to do with a town issue, but it was at a provincial level. So it wasn't at the municipal level that I was holding this town hall. But not only the first time, but more recently, the second time, I made the mistake of failing to notify the town that I was going to hold a public meeting in that town, and boy, did I ever hear about it. And I normally learn from my mistakes the first time, but I think with everything going on, the legislature sitting as busy as it is, I forgot to give the town the heads up that I was scheduling another public meeting. And I ate crow on that, and I wrote a very heartfelt apology to the CAO, because it puts the CAO in a tough position when they're wondering what the heck this rogue MLA is doing, going around setting all these public engagement meetings without telling the town. So that's it might not be a huge example, it might not be fatal, but it meant a lot to me because I expected better of myself, especially because I had done it once before. So I'm not going to do it a third time. The lesson learned is to remember your stakeholders, remember who you need to notify before you go do something out the door.
Yeah.
Over to you, Hannah. 2 minutes.
Thank you. That's a really good example because it is the proportion of how you're held accountable is one of those things where, what we think are relatively small challenges or issues can become really large, and things that should be large aren't. And it's one of the things we used to say when we were in the office, in caucus office, was when something went sideways with a story or a media thing, is this going to be a 24-hour story? Or is it going to be a 7-day story? Or is it going to be longer? If you can wait it out for 24 hours, it'll go away. If it's 7 days, then you're going to have a plan. And if it's got stickiness and legs, then you're in trouble. Right? When I decided I wasn't going to reoffer, as I said earlier, I was pretty clear about that being a reasonable decision because I had served my full term. I wasn't quitting like Natalie did or Dennis did after I'd made a commitment to electorates in an election and then walking away. I don't think I was prepared for how hard that was going to be, and not just in terms of the life after politics, but that actually most people don't let you leave politics. I would say that I have never been allowed to leave. That's not a bad thing, but it's a bit of a reality check that, I don't know, Chris, you might find this too, but once you've been a politician, people don't know and don't care that you're not a politician anymore. So I still have political discussions in the frozen food aisle at Sobeys regularly. The trick is to go when Compass is on, and then there's less people to talk to you about politics in the frozen food aisle. So that's one piece. I mean, there's lots of, in-house. And then obviously the other piece, which is the elephant in the room, and I'm not afraid to speak about it, is having done an interview with Theresa Wright about the state of politics during the 2023 election and the challenges facing the Green Party. I know that a lot of people found that not just personally hurtful, but politically hurtful. And I would argue, again, as I did then, that we were at the time in the party really challenged with what might happen during that election. But I would also argue that in hindsight, because of what is fair to everyone else and how they feel, which is one of the marks of a leader, is recognize when you've made a mistake, tell people what you learned about it, don't do it next time, is don't do an interview during an electoral campaign. And that would be the thing that I would change. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to that. And back to you. I think I saw the red card come up.
Yeah, Matt. Over to you. 1 minute, please. 1 minute.
Sure. No, thank you. No, and thank you, Hannah, for that response. And I don't have much to add by way of a rebuttal, other than I appreciate you speaking to that particular issue. As a candidate in that 2023 campaign, it did come as a shock what was reported in the news media, and as you alluded to, it was hurtful, and I think it was hurtful to the candidates who were running hard campaigns in that final few days of that election, and also to the party generally and to the membership to see that happen. And I think lesson learned, as I've learned and will continue to learn in my role, and you've learned from that experience. We try not to make those same mistakes twice.
Or 3 times.
Or 3 times, that's right. Fair enough. So lessons learned every day.
Yeah.
So I think it is important to be mindful of what we say, to who we say it to. If there's one common thread, we have to be careful who we speak to, at what time, what we say. Media is not always our friend. There's going to be lots of times where in my political career I step in a pile of it with the media. I know it's bound to happen, and it's going to happen. But again, to learn and move forward and to continue to support the party, those are important pieces for us. Thank you.
We'll be moving into segment 3, which is organizational strategy and electoral votes, growth, rather.
I have no idea where we are in the sections anymore. But that's okay.
The question is, and it's a long one, there's a couple questions in here, so let me read it for you. Green parties around the world wrestle with the balance between green roots ideas and the modern-day machinery of politics. First question, why do you believe this tension exists? And secondly, how would you manage it in order... Someone say something?
No.
And how would you manage it in order to execute a provincial campaign that results in us forming the next government? Sorry, the last part wasn't read that well. Did you get that, or you want me to reread it?
Maybe reread that.
Reread it, thank you. And how would you manage it in order to execute a provincial campaign that results in us forming the next government? Good? Hannibal, you are
I'm going first?
on.
Thank you. Okay, there is a real tug and pull between grassroots and the structures that you need to be able to run a really well-oiled, functional party organization. Like a party organization isn't like a business, but in a lot of ways it resembles, a non-profit organization more than anything else, because it has that kind of board roles, it has governance, which is a critical piece of the story. It has committees, it has terms of reference, it has all of those kind of pieces that we need that provide structure. There's a couple of challenges happening there. One of them is grassroots organizing takes a lot of work. You have to invest in it up front if you want it to be successful. That means you have to support people and give them initial support and guidance to be able to get going from the I want to do something to I'm going to do this thing. That means training, workshops, that kind of role training that's in there. It may require some money, but we can't expect EDAs to happen organically. And again, as you heard me say earlier in one of the other segments, electoral district associations, EDAs, are the core of grassroots democracy in a political party. The balance to that is like I said, the not sexy but absolutely necessary pieces around database management, financial management, fundraising, membership recruitment, membership management, communications, doing recognition events and thank yous for the people who are stepping up and doing the work for you. Teaching and training people so that when an election writ goes, it's not a snap because we're ready, because we've done campaign training and election readiness training, right? But we know that no government in the past how many years has honored the fact that we have fixed date elections. We don't have fixed date elections. The next election could be right after the PC elect a leader this fall, right? Are we ready? Do we know how we're going to work that? What do we need to do now to get ready? And how do we pay for it? And who's going to do the work? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, and over to you, Matt, 2 minutes.
Thank you. It's a big question, and it's an issue that the party has had push and pull with over a number of years. Well, I guess one point I'd make is as far as election readiness goes, as far as that aspect of the question, our party just turned 20 years old this year, and that's an infant. That's an infant in the in the lifespan of the blue and the red 150-year legacy parties. So we're catching up, we're getting there. But one thing that the Green Party does well is that we attract people into our fold, into our party, who have felt disenfranchised by other parties because they weren't being listened to, they weren't being heard. So we have a lot of active people with great ideas in our party, and a lot of these revolve around the grassroots, democracy at its finest, at the lowest grassroots level, where we try and allow everyone to have a voice and to be heard. And we've done pretty well in balancing that with our Green Party structure to allow motions to be brought from our memberships. How many other parties have annual general meetings where half an hour is for the business and the whole rest of the day is where we discuss and debate Green Party motions to get ideas flowing? So there's that push and pull between the grassroots, allowing us all an opportunity to be heard, and the political machinery that Hannah alludes to, which is what the other parties have done so well over the 150 years they've been around. We're only 20, we're catching up. But you do have to have those fundamentals in place. We have to get our technology improved, because there's been some technology challenges, as we've learned through this leadership campaign, that we need to get ironed out for the next election. We need to get money in our bank accounts to run good, strong campaigns, and we need to get the EDAs. Hannah's mentioned them. I'd like to mention them too. They're fundamentally, critically important to have electoral district associations in our constituencies to be ready to support whoever that candidate is that comes along. It might not be the same person now as it will be in 5 or 10 years from now, but the EDA should remain, so it's always a balance between...
I think your time is up.
Time's up. It's a balance. It's always a balance, Greg.
Hannah, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to recognise that as a relatively new party into the grand scheme of the red-blue that we've had for literally since 1840 something, 20 years is really short. But we're a real political party that has to follow the political rules of the province. We have to do that. We are legally obligated to do so. And that is the minimum that we have to be delivering. So infant or not, we are expected to reflect a certain standard. The other piece is we were official opposition. Okay, we are not, an upstart that's putting candidates forward that's never going to get a seat. We could have done better in leveraging that we were official opposition with our membership numbers, with our fundraising, and we want to make sure we don't miss that opportunity next time, right? So it's about building momentum now and then being in a position that we can reflect accurately the weight that we have politically with the weight that we have in the support that we can generate in the party itself. Okay, got it right that time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And our next question is, as the leader, how would you support the party's growth and the creation of a strong party organizing infrastructure across the province? And Matt, you are up.
All right.
And 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, I feel we've kind of touched on this already, and I think Hannah and I are largely aligned. We do need leaders to lead by example. We need to attract membership. We need to grow the membership. We need to grow the electoral district associations. These are all fundamental core pieces that are needed. Yes, as we've talked about, we are only 20 years old, but we've done a lot of things that we should be proud of within that 20-year period of time. And we just need to build that political machinery to get us over the next level. And I'm seeing in my brief time as elected official now, well, I guess it's coming on 14, 15 months, the excitement that's being generated just simply from one by-election win in Borden, Kincora, the people that are coming out looking to support the party, looking to be a part of the party in whatever way they can. And that's what we need. I think success breeds upon success. And we were official opposition, and we can certainly get that back again. In fact, we can do even better than that. A few more seats on top of the 8 we had, and we would have been sitting in government a few years ago. So we are just on the cusp of getting back there again. And the way we're going to be able to do that is by focusing on some of the older school political strategies of getting the vote out, getting the data first, getting the vote out, getting the volunteers that we need to have in place in all of our districts, not just a select few, but we need 14 seats to form government, and we can do that by, getting the hope chest, which is the money that we need to run the next election. The people, so the financial resources, the human resources, our technological upgrades that we need to our system, and all of this can be done with a concerted effort and with the necessary movement of people and the excitement of people that I know we have in this room today.
Over to you, Annabelle.
Thank you. So you've heard me speak already about building that healthy, engaged membership. We, and Matt has alluded to this as well, we need our tech supports, that kind of that technical structure that that runs the membership databases and the financial databases. That needs to be more reliable, and I know the party is well aware of that and has a plan for that, which is really encouraging. It's basically post-leadership campaign, because this is taking the focus right now. But that is actually really critical, because if we don't have data, we don't know who our people are, we don't know where they are, and we can't get hold of them. The membership in the party could and should be thousands, because there are that many people out there who vote Green. If you think about every single vote that was cast in the last election, it's thousands. And a percentage of those people who care enough to vote Green will care enough to be a member. But we need to be really clear, memberships aren't about generating revenue. Like, as a $10 membership, you can have 1,000 people, that's 10 grand. That's not enough to rent an office, right? The membership are your door to all these other things getting done. So we also need to be really serious about raising funds. And, something that Matt mentioned, which I think is really important, is that, and I'd mentioned it as well, about training and supporting, but it's also about what do you do when there's an election. So one of the things in there is ensuring that all candidates in an election have the same basic core election kit. They have their signs, they have the basic money they need to start. And frankly, some candidates then may get additional on top of that because they can raise more money, or they're in an existing seat, for example. You always want to keep the seats you have. But having everybody have a level playing field, the candidates across the board, is also really critical to how we care and take care of our candidates and show them that we value what they're doing when they step up to run. I think finally, I would also talk about treating candidates well and with respect, including after the election.
I think your time is up.
On my candidate, there we go. I stopped there.
Thank you. Matt, would you like to respond, please?
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to shift the gears a little bit on it too, because I was thinking as Hannah was speaking that there's an intangible element to success in elections as well. We've talked about the mechanics, some of the nuts and bolts, the unsexy things, as Hannah's alluded to. There's an intangible element. Look what happened in 2019. We didn't have any better technology than we have now. We didn't have any more money than we have now, and we didn't have any more membership than we had now. We had that fellow working the soundboard over there, and that got us official opposition status. Well, the soundboard got us official sound maker. So I mean, there's an intangible, unmeasurable quality there. Look at Jack Layton did, and it was a 2011 with the Orange Crush. Like, he had candidates that weren't even in the district, weren't even in the riding, and they won their seat just because there was a movement, there was a momentum. So we need the nuts and bolts, but we need that certain je ne sais quoi, that untangible.
Can I just respond just really quickly as
Sure.
well? If we can just be clear, and this comes back to understanding the political climate and being able to read the political climate on a larger basis. 2019 was a change election. It was getting rid of Wade. Sorry, Chris. It was getting rid of Wade and the Liberals. It was a change election, and having that timing of a Green Party on the rise with an incumbent party that was tired and not doing its best, the opportunity is there. 2023 was not a change election. Dennis King is at that time, the most popular premier in the entire country. And so it's also knowing where you are and being ready to go when things align. We have a tendency here to do two mandates and a swap. It'd be great to break that, but we also need to recognize sometimes you're working inside how things work. And if you can break it, great. But we need to be ready for both. We need to be ready for how do you cope when it's not a change election, and how do you make it into a change election? And that's the exciting part.
This next election will be a change election.
It will be. 100%.
Our last question regarding this, in this organizational strategy and electoral growth. What do you believe the party and its future leaders' top 2 or 3 priorities should be following the conclusion of the leadership contest? And Hannah, you are up, please.
That's a really interesting question, because it could be the top 3 priorities for policy. It could be the top 3 priorities for the party. It could be the top 3 priorities as a leader. So I'll do all 3. Policy, Land Use Planning Act, healthcare. Yeah, I was able to go. I think Matt and I were actually at the same presentation, and the Land Use Planning Act cascades to, it again, doesn't sound sexy, totally critical, cascades out to so many other things. It's shoreline protection, it's coastal erosion, it's flood zone planning. It's basically how do we plan now to not only protect our agricultural land, which we're losing at 39 acres a day, how do we protect against climate change? How do we mitigate climate change? How do we protect the land we have so we don't lose any more, and protect our island way of life with it? So that's a critical piece. But you know, the top of mind for people in terms of policy for voters and for the general population that I hear when I talk to people over is cost of living, which is obviously associated with housing, and then associated with that is food insecurity. You know, our food insecurity numbers are actually going up. We now have 1 in 5 children in PEI are food insecure, which means they are literally missing a meal every day. And healthcare remains that kind of undercurrent underneath. So those are policy priorities. Party priorities, it's about what we've just talked about. It's about being enthusiastic to the public about, wow, we're here now. You need to be part of this story. Getting people on board, getting those EDAs started, getting fundraising events kicking off. Those are the opportunities that we have in the next 6 months. And 6 months is a great time window to think about it. And personally, it would be, should I be the next leader of the Green Party, it would be going tip to tip, talking to local organizations, local stakeholders in the places where they are, and mainly listening. And so those are the 3 different spaces that I would focus on.
Thank you very much, Matt. 2 minutes.
Thank you for that. So I'll answer the question as if it's me. If I am the next leader of the Green Party of Prince Edward Island, what I'm going to immediately continue to do is continue my work going across the province. I've already been from Montague to Tignish. I'm calling it a listening tour. But what it is I'm going to meet people. I'm going to meet community influencers, community leaders. I'm going to meet with people in all the different towns and communities in our province. I've been to a number of them already, and I'm doing a couple of things. It's hearing the concerns that I believe the Green Party needs to be aware of, both for my role as legislator in the Legislative Assembly, but also so that we can build relevant, effective policy that meets Islanders where they're at, because that's critical to moving forward, is that we hear from Islanders where they're at and move that forward into policy, whether it be with our own party or in my role as legislator. The other aspect of that, which I think is fundamental of going tip to tip across the province, is that this is a great opportunity to meet with potential candidates and for potential candidates to come and introduce themselves. I've already had about 6 meetings with some stellar candidates who I'm really excited to see put their name on the ballot in the next election. You know, the fact that we don't even have an election scheduled on the books until October 2027 is amazing. We know it's not going to be that far off. We know that. But these are people who are already interested and excited. So by getting out there, number 1 priority, and meeting people, we're going to be in a good position to be ready to get these candidates educated on the ways of being an MLA. And that's, and I guess second with that, I will continue to bring the issues forward to the legislature that I hear from this listening tour. Thank you.
Annabelle, your response, please.
Well, I don't know if it's much of a response. Obviously, we're on the same page in so many areas in this that it's actually really refreshing to know that, you know, whatever happens in this, Matt and I are in agreement on a lot of the key issues that really matter to Islanders. One of the privileges I've had during this leadership contest is being able to speak directly with members, especially members who had lapsed their membership, because I'm calling them to ask them to come back. And a lot of the time, that conversation is around, why did you leave? Sounds familiar. I get that question too. And a lot of the time it is, I didn't feel that there was anything that you could do for me. But that changes when we can talk about, you know, the work that's happening now with the caucus in the legislature now, the work that's happened in the past, because a lot of the time we're telling people, did you know it was Greens that did this? So we have a bit of a problem sometimes in our own storytelling about the successes that Greens have brought for Islanders and PEI. It's a bit like the NDP federally, like people don't know it was their good work. And so those conversations are really informative about sort of giving people the opportunity to say, you know,
I think your time is up.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I wasn't looking at the right guy. Sorry
I
about
know. Well, I'm glad that everybody's on the same page. That's good. I'd be a little worried if we were all on different pages here
that.
today.
It wouldn't be very green of us.
And that wouldn't be very green, you bet. So thank you so much. We're moving on to now segment 4, public policy, environment, energy, and land use, big issues for Islanders. So the first question in this segment is, what measures do you believe the PEI government should take to quickly reduce fossil fuel use on PEI? And Matt, 2 minutes, please.
Okay. All right, well, there's a real low-hanging fruit there that we can grab, Greg, and that is to not move forward with a $500 million diesel generator for Maritime Electric. I think there's people in the room who know more than I about solar, but I do believe that solar power is now the cheapest per kilowatt form of energy that we should be looking towards. And we're also seeing great advancements in battery storage as well for storing energy as opposed to generating it through diesel, which is absurd to me in the year 2025. We also, as far, I mean, that's a big one to me right now, because we have these underwater cables running from the mainland that bring a lot of our electricity, most of our electricity over to us. And we're not at capacity with those underwater cables. We can bring more electricity over on demand if we need it, as opposed to having to build an exhaust-producing $500 million generator. So, in addition to that, there's incentives that we need to be reinstating. You know, the government recently paused the solar energy program. That needs to get back up and running, more robust than it has been before. We've advocated in the legislature for more incentives towards insulation. So if we can insulate the envelope of the house, then we just generally need less power to heat our homes and to keep heat from escaping. There's some items like that. There's so many. Geothermal doesn't get near enough attention in this province as a clean form of heat. So whether we're looking at how we generate our electricity or how we use our electricity, we need to focus on incentives to Islanders to move away from oil. And if we move forward with that diesel generator, we're setting a really bad example for Islanders that we are expecting better of. We should be leading better by example ourselves. Thank you.
Hannah, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you. I mean, we know that the pressures on our electrical grid have been exacerbated by a number of different factors. So obviously population growth, the rapid increase of installation of heat pumps, which has been fantastic at getting people off oil, but puts additional load onto systems. So there's a number of things that the government has sort of tried to do, but not very well. And the solar rebate program is one of those, where incentives for people to be able to get solar onto their home, which allows for them to sort of at least reduce, if not net out their energy consumption in the home. And then they pause that program with clients literally lined up waiting to get solar installations, which not only stops those solar installations, but it puts 100 people out of work in the province. Pretty short-sighted. The other thing that we also need to think about is that not only do we need to think about how we increase capacity, and so large solar installations like the solar farm that Summerside has is an example of ways that we can provide additional. But some of the biggest challenges that Maritime Electric are trying to justify this turbine for are what are called peak load or high capacity, which only happen less than 10% of the year. So as battery storage increases and improves, we're more likely to be able to address those without having had a sunk cost investment like we're talking about with this diesel generator. We need to be able to bridge until then. One of the other long-term things that we can look at is also the actual usage of electricity, and one of the most effective ways is to retrofit buildings and homes. It can reduce energy usage by 50%, and up to 50% of built infrastructure in PEI is eligible for retrofit. Some of it's going to have to be demolished, but so much of it is eligible for retrofit, which significantly reduces the energy usage footprint, the carbon footprint, and having that happening at the same time as we think about how we better invest and manage our electrical grid are complementary. There's also a huge employment opportunity with retrofit teams like they've done in BC with the Youth Climate Corps. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt, would you like to respond, please?
Just briefly, thanks, Greg. Hannah alluded to like the peak power, notwithstanding all of the warnings we got from Maritime Electric to not run our dishwasher between the hours of 6 and 8 and not to turn the lights on during those times. We didn't come close. We didn't come close to hitting peak power consumption in Prince Edward Island such that there would be rolling blackouts. So notwithstanding all the heat pumps, which are wonderful, and we need them, we need more EVs and all of those necessary incentives, but we didn't come close. So I think we need to take a really good hard look at what Maritime Electric is up to right now. Because there's definitely something funny going on with it, and I've called for an independent audit and investigation, and I'm going to continue to do that because there's either a problem with the meters or a problem with the billing or a problem with both, because Islanders are getting some pretty funny bills.
Yeah.
Not very funny when you have to pay them.
Yeah.
Right. We're moving along to the next question, which is regarding land use, which is another hot topic for us here on PEI. Land use and land ownership have been contentious issues on PEI in recent years. What do you see as the key issues and how to resolve them? And Hannah, you are up. Please, 2 minutes.
Thank you. You've already heard me speak about the Land Use Planning Act and how incredibly important it is that that is no longer languishing on some bureaucrat's desk. I think it's 4 years and counting now. And it's recommendation number 5 over the last 20 years.
Yes,
It's been reviewed and studied. We do not need any more reviews or any more studies. We just need to do the implementations of recommendations. The challenge is it's politically not comfortable, right? It's recommendations that may require people to divest land, that they may need to move their homes. But the risk there is that we have something like an increase from 7% to 30% of homes now located within coastal erosion risk areas. 30% of residential buildings in PEI are in an area of risk in the next few decades. So we are going to pay for that one way or another. Either we're paying because we have to recover the house and the property that fell into the water, or we're paying to relocate it later. And one of the things we need to do is stop building on the coast, stop building on floodplains. And we can't do that if we don't have legislation that provides the supporting framework to make that happen. These are really difficult conversations, and it's why they've been stalled, because no government wants to be the government that says, we're going to make you do something for the greater good. But we're brave. We're brave Greens, and that's what Greens do. And so that's going to be a hard one. But the other side of that is the transparency that we need to have from the number of reports that have been done through IRAC, like the Brendel report, like the past report about the Monk purchases and land purchases in Three Rivers, that are secret. Right? These are taxpayer reports paid for with taxpayers' money about issues that are important to taxpayers. Why the hell can't we see those reports? And we will not know whether or not there have been any breaches of the current restrictions on foreign land ownership until we get that data publicly available. Otherwise it's just rumor and innuendo, and that is
Thank you,
a
Hannibal.
dangerous place for us to be going. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Matt. 2 minutes.
Thank you. I feel fairly comfortable in saying that land has been one of the largest issues completely ignored by this provincial government, and it's been one of the issues that I've heard from islanders from tip to tip almost as frequently as healthcare, which is hard to believe, because it's been ignored. We have had royal commissions on land, task forces on land, committees on land for the last 5 decades, and they've sat on a shelf and they've collected dust. And it's a disgrace to the good people who have served on those committees and have put forward good recommendations. We're losing as much as 20 acres a day of farmland across this province through the development and other reasons, just irresponsible land use. We can't continue to lose agricultural land at the rate we're losing. It's simply unsustainable. The land use plan is critical. We've heard it from the PEI Federation of Agriculture. They're crying out for it, but we have not had a government with the intestinal fortitude to actually do something about it. And that's led to the situation we're in. Coastline Protection Plan. We finally have a coastline protection report that breaks the province up into 17 literal cells, and I think we're actually just getting started. Janice Harper's involved with that, and she's tackling 3 right now to get plans in place for coastline protection. The Lands Protection Act, contrary to its name, does not in fact protect land at all in this province. And we're seeing, there's more holes in the Lands Protection Act than Swiss cheese, and there's people driving cars right through those holes. And I brought a bill calling for transparency in the Lands Protection Act so that we can actually see what the recommendations are from IRAC to Executive Council, because once IRAC makes a recommendation on land, it's secret. It goes to Cabinet. That's also secret. So we don't know who's being approved, why, whether the Lands Protection Act is being abided by or followed. And it's inexcusable that something as precious as our land resource is being bought and sold to big corporations, non-residents, without any transparency. The public has no idea what's going on. Now, I'm going to continue to bang that drum, because when we talk about land, there are so many issues. We can't talk about them in 2 minutes. But that would be my view.
We're having so much fun here today that we're running out of time.
I'm not surprised.
So we're going to dispense with the rebuttals, right, for going forward, if that's all right. There's a few other areas that I'd like to touch on. There was another one in this segment which talked about Maritime Electric. I think we've touched on that somewhat, so I don't think we'll use that one. But there's some, the segment 5 is regarding public policy, health, housing, and equality. Big ones for us. So why don't we jump into this one at this time? And the question is this. It's kind of long, so I'll try to read it well for you. The crises in our healthcare system are likely to continue to loom large over PEI elections for the foreseeable future, and voters will be looking to the party leaders for assurance that they understand the problems plaguing the system and will have a strategy to try and solve them. In 2 minutes or less, can you, 2 minutes or less, can you identify what you see as the key parts of the problem and how you would approach them? And Matt, you're up. Is that clear? Do you want me to read it again, or are you fine?
Crystal clear.
Crystal clear.
I've got 2 hours.
Thank you. I might call you on that after 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, healthcare is the number one issue that we're hearing at the door. Anna, you're hearing it at the door in Malpeque. I've heard it for 3 successive elections right now that we have to fix our healthcare. I think we've gone from 6,000 people on the waiting list in 2019 when I first ran to we're now at 38,000 people on the wait list for a doctor. Almost a quarter, over 20% of our island population right now doesn't have access to primary care in Prince Edward Island. That's the number one issue. We need to build the robustness of our primary care system to give access to Islanders' primary care without delay. There's a number of ways we're going to need to deal with that. We need to depoliticize healthcare. We need to get politicians out of the delivery and the administration of healthcare. We have Health PEI that should be able to stand on its own and act effectively with a board of directors properly constituted and to provide strategic direction to CEO and to the Health PEI administration to actually deliver on healthcare. We don't need to be spending $5 million on private Toronto consultants to fix our healthcare system. We should be able to do that with Health PEI. Conscious of time, we need to invest the money we have appropriately. So sending that $5 million to Toronto is a waste of money, in my opinion. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. I really hope those people can find the answers, because that's a lot of money if they don't. We spent $26 million last year on travel nurses, private agency travel nurses. That money could have been put back into the frontline island nurse contingent to give them the pay that they deserve for the job that they're doing, not going to nurses from away who fly in and fly out. The misguided priorities of this government just baffle me when it comes to the money we have, the limited money we have to put on the front lines. We need to listen to the workers, the nurses, the healthcare workers, the CUPE representatives, all the unions. We need to listen to what they have to say, because they have the answers. They know. They're living the healthcare system every single day, and we need to finally wake up and start listening to these people, because they have the answers, not KPMG in Toronto.
Yeah.
Annabelle?
Thank you. No wicked problem is fixable quickly. And so what we're seeing is successive governments who are trying to nibble around the edges with quick fixes, whether it's travel nurses is a fantastic example of that. We have a nursing shortage. Rather than doing things like negotiating with unions, which is really hard, and that you won't always win, they're going to pay an insane premium instead to bring in nurses from away who won't argue with you about their union expectations. But like I mentioned earlier when I talked about land use planning, difficult choices are difficult for government to make. It's easier to hide behind $5 million to consultants or $26 million to travel nurses, or privatizing cataract surgery, or privatizing physiotherapy, or suggesting that we should just have a private hospital next. Thank you, Corey Deagle. You know, we are, as Canadians, take pride in our public health care. We take pride in the fact that you will not get a bill when you need to go for health care, whether it's emergency or scheduled. But if you go to that private cataract clinic right now, you will get a bill. And that's not how our healthcare system is supposed to work. So it's not a great solution. It's the opposite of what we expect from our healthcare system. So what we need to do in the long term is make commitments as to what are the standards of care that we are going to deliver. And that's not how many people are on a wait list, it's what's the standard of care. Can you get seen by someone when it's an emergency without waiting for 16 hours in an ER? Can you get preventative healthcare support? Because preventative healthcare is what stops us from getting sick. There's no point waiting until people are in the ICU, which costs a fortune, when we could have had preventative ahead of time. In fact, 50% of healthcare costs are about environmental or socioeconomic. So one of the things that we also need to see is an integrated approach to how we address healthcare, which looks at what does community care look like. It looks like addressing food insecurity. It looks like addressing mental health and addictions. It looks like addressing housing and providing childcare.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I got caught today. Just when I was getting excited.
There's some good energy around this issue, I can see, for both.
As I said, when you talk about it all the time, you have a lot of feedback from people on what it is that they want to see happen and why it matters to them.
Okay, thank you. Matt, would you like to respond any, or you fine? Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next topic, which I think is very relevant. PEI's vulnerable population of unhoused and those struggling with addictions and mental health issues has ballooned in recent years. How to care for this population has been a topic of intense debate, to say the least, and recently the housing minister responded to the city of Charlottetown's decision not to renew the Park Street shelter permit by declaring the area special planning area under direct provincial jurisdiction. This is a complex issue that combines questions about how best to help vulnerable populations with jurisdictional questions. How would you approach this issue as a leader of the PEI Green Party? Hannah, would you like to begin, please?
Sure. So I'm going to put aside the jurisdictional issue for a moment because that's a big one on its own, and I'd like to focus more on the housing and equity piece of this right now. Park Street Shelter was meant to be an emergency shelter. An emergency shelter is literally, you have nowhere else to go. Here's a place where you can go to be safe tonight. It's not a long-term solution. But instead we have people at the Park Street Shelter who are permanent residents because there actually is nowhere else to go. So what the emergency shelter system that we have right now has done is given us a place to put people so you can't see them in your community until they're kicked out at 8 a.m. in the morning, and then they go to the outreach centre or they go downtown. This isn't, pardon? Oh, sorry. What we're missing is the other parts of the housing continuum. And what that looks like is when somebody needs an emergency space, there should be an emergency space. But if you recognize when you take them into that emergency space that they have a long-term issue, which is usually right now mental health and addictions or complex trauma, then what we want to do is get them into a safe and supportive home, regardless of whether they are sober or not. Because Housing First says you cannot begin recovery unless you are provided with a safe home that gives you dignity and privacy and security. And we are not doing that right now. That's the piece that's missing. And there's a moral judgment there that says you don't deserve to have a home if you're not sober. But you turn that on its head and says, who are we to say who deserves to have a home? And who are we to say what conditions you have to meet to have that home? So until we begin to provide housing first based transitional housing, we have a homeless population who are stuck in a space that is not secure, it is not dignified, and it is not helping them. Yeah. And I obviously feel very strongly about this. This is not going to get better. The number of homelessness in PEI, and particularly focused in urban areas, Charlottetown, Summerside, it has the same challenge. It is exponential.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you.
Pat?
Yeah, thanks, Greg. There's so much to this one issue. I'll just address the jurisdictional question first.
I didn't get
And it's unfortunate. Now, we've seen this government float jurisdictional rules and zoning before. And that's not to say that we don't need the services that are being provided by the outreach center. We so desperately do, as Hannah has alluded, but we have to show respect to our government partners, and we can't just run roughshod over other jurisdictions. The shelter itself, the outreach center, provides what's called a centralized service, and you can get a half a dozen different services there, but unfortunately all the people that go to the center don't need all of those particular services. So it's not effective, and it's not meeting the needs of the clients where they're at any given particular time in their life. I believe that the solution is better found in uncoupling all of those services to provide, the housing first, number one, the detox and treatment facilities, number two, the temporary shelter. We can go down the list of what the services are that are offered there, but combining them all into one size fits all for such a complex and vulnerable population, the one size fits all approach is the exact wrong thing that we should be doing for this population. But the housing needs need to be met. We're supposed to be building 2,000 units a year for housing, and we're not getting anywhere close to that whatsoever. Our vacancy rates are at an all-time low. We're seeing mobile home parks, which fill a critical gap and a critical space in our housing continuum, under threat by sale to developers. Those are critical. Seniors housing within the communities are important. I've heard it on the campaign trail so many times. The bottom line is the John Howard Society's last point in time count more than doubled homelessness in the last 4 years. It's an issue that needs to be addressed.
Thank you, Matt. I'm going to slip ahead even further because time is running out. There's lots of wonderful discussion that's sparked here. Thank you for those persons who put forward some questions. Unfortunately, we can't do it today because of time restraints, but thank you for those questions. And the next debate is in Charlottetown on May 3rd, so please note that. Come on down there, and yeah, so the debate or the conversation will continue. Please remind your green curious friends and family to please come out and support, and you need to be a member if you want to vote before May 8th, so please note that. I want to say thank you to the wonderful conversation that has happened here today. It does justice to the quality of leadership in which you provide and the quality of Greens that are seeking leadership. So on behalf of each and every person here, thank you so very, very much. So again, if you need to ask questions, these fine folk will go and, not here, but some other time. You can email, phone, or whatever, get in contact with them, and I know they'd be more than willing to entertain some time with you for your questions. But right now, I think we'll wrap up by a final statement, and I'd invite 2 minutes for you to just summarize just the final words that you would like to share with us. And I can't remember who went first the last time. Was it?
I did.
You did?
I
Okay.
did the housing one, so.
Matt, you're up. 2 minutes, please.
Okay.
And just to sum up everything that you've said this evening,
Well,
this afternoon.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you all for being here. This has been a really wonderful event. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope it was of some value to the membership. We have a real opportunity right now, as a party, to be the choice for Islanders to form government in the next election. I speak to Islanders every day from across this island, from tip to tip, who are ready for real, progressive change. Islanders want a government that listens to them and responds in a way that addresses our challenges, from healthcare to housing. We've talked about these, fighting climate change, ensuring we leave a healthy province and a healthy climate for our children. What we have now, unfortunately, is what I see each and every day in the legislature, is a government that is hell-bent on taking us down a path to privatization of our healthcare system and our long-term care, a government that is ignorant of the important nature of our land resource and land protection, a government who's unable to provide houses to people who need them, a government who's unable to address the needs of the most vulnerable in our society. And there's so many other examples, so I'm just going to move on because we could be here all day talking about the needs that this government is failing to address in PEI right now. We need a leader now more than ever that is going to stand up to this misguided and this unfocused direction, take hold of the wheel and get us on the right course before it's too late. Islanders are tired of the same old red and blue, blue and red, back and forth with no change to our actual quality of living. They're looking for something new that will actually address and solve problems. I would submit that the Green Party is the only party that will bring forward good public policy that is actually evidence-based, not just politically popular, but evidence-based public policy that will benefit the lives of Islanders and our island home. There's no denying that we're facing a lot of challenges right now in our province, but I'm looking for your support, ladies and gentlemen, so that together we can take on those challenges head on and build the province that is absolutely going to be the envy of this country. Thank you.
Annabelle, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you to all for being here and being so engaged in this discussion. This is part of what I've been talking about. It's so important that we have access to these conversations and the chance to provide input and to be part of the discussion. I think we can all agree that Islanders are not alone in facing some of the biggest challenges of our time. from an overburdened healthcare system and an affordability crisis in housing and groceries to an environmental degradation that includes the real and present danger of a climate crisis. We're also in a time of real global political instability and risk, with a rise in dangerous misinformation, disinformation, and increasing polarization of opinion and action. Facing these challenges, islanders are looking for leadership that can face it head on with bold solutions and creative, people-centered actions that foster healthy and prosperous communities. I deeply believe that leaders should serve, and that the best leaders provide a supportive space for everyone to have a voice, a role, and to be valued. A good leader speaks the truth and is responsible, especially when it's difficult. They provide direction and make decisions based on evidence, expert input, and risk, which in politics is essential. And they build a team who are empowered to act, supported to do so, and are celebrated for their unique experience and the value that they bring. I've worked to make positive change in my community my entire life, through volunteering, advocacy, elected position, decisive action. I've never been afraid to speak truth to power or take positions that are not easy, but are necessary to make positive change. I'm also not afraid of the hard work that's required to build momentum through relationships, networks, membership, media, and community engagement. There's a growing hunger for political leadership that's prepared to take clear and bold positions on the challenges of the day and that will make commitments to policy and action that are good for people. I'm seeking the leadership of the Green Party of PEI because I believe my life experience and my proven leadership can provide the guidance and vision to make the changes we need for the island we love and lead to the next government of PEI and the
Thank
first
you.
green government in Canada.
Thank you, Hannibal.
Thank you.
Folks, thank you so very much for giving up your Saturday afternoon in spring to come out and share in this time. Thank you so very much, and be safe and vote.